welcome to episode 61 of Winging It, the transfer special. I've got Hesketh in tow. Hello, Sam.
Hi.
You're struggling because you've been out for a walk and had 2 pints.
Yeah, that's not the norm for me. So I'll be in the background this evening.
Nice. And as always, the transfer specials. Thank you, Carl, for giving us your time to chat through.
Hiya, guys. Be rest assured, I've done no walking today. I'm not mixing that. I'm not mixing my shit up with drinking beer and walking.
Hang on, you were somewhere today, though. I saw it come through on Footballogy.
Yeah, 14th game of the calendar year. Walton and Hersham. I kept it local.
I'm not doing that bad, you know. I think I'm already on 6 in January, which is way ahead of pace of last year. Right, so I'm going to crack open a beer to go with. Although I've got neck oil, and after Albert's joke last week about neck oil, not that neck oil, I kind of worry about drinking this now. It's all that's going to be in my mind. Have you come prepared, Carl?
I have indeed. I've got my last can of Vault City, the Edinburgh brewery. It's a sour, so it's I need another trip back up to Edinburgh to top myself back up again.
Well, I didn't even realise, of course, that I ended up having a Vault City on the pod earlier this week.
See, I've not heard the pod. I've not heard. I can't. Look, guys, I love you, but I'm not messing with the football gods. I listened to you on the way to a game. I'm not met again. You can't be messing around with it. It's like walking on a match day. You can't be listening to pods when it's not a match day.
We had I had one called Fruity Fluff from Vault City. And
nice.
I was really concerned reading the can, but then it was actually really good. So enjoyed it. Okay, right. So obviously, we're here to talk transfers, so we're gonna ease it out. Sorry, I'm opening 2 cans because they're small. I'm just pouring it into.
I've opened 2. The transfer window's been that good. You've opened 2 cans for this session.
Yeah,
it's
well,
one of those days.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about it. All the planets are literally aligned in the sky, and we still can't get our business done early. But what's nice about doing this episode today, we're recording on Saturday night. It's 9:30 p.m. We're episode 61. But if you add 6 and 1 together, you get 7, Carl.
Yeah. I honestly went looking for a can of 7-Up earlier. All I could find was Sprite. I was gutted.
Oh, unbelievable. I couldn't believe I left the house. I took my boy to play tennis today, and I left the house, and it was 2-0. And next thing I know, I checked my phone. Phone is 7. There's worse things, right, Carl?
Yeah, no, I got I put in the WhatsApp group, I take the blame for it only being 7. I got in the car. I need to go and get some beers for the train tomorrow. I jumped in the car at 3-0. It stayed 3-0, went round the supermarket, came back out. It's 5-0. Drove back home, got in the house, came in, it's 7-0. I didn't hear a goal. I wish I hadn't listened to any of it. It would have been 10 or 12.
Yeah, I mean, incredible. So I would talk about setting a team up for a striker. Do you know what I mean? They've just made it for Chris Woods to score goals, and it's working for them. Something magical.
I also saw a stat that I thought was quite funny that someone sent me that says Lewis Dunk has scored Premier League goals for 4 English clubs that have won the European Cup, and he's never played for any of them. Great.
Well, he's moved second all time now in Premier League own goals with 7. I've tied with a bunch of people on 7, with obviously only the great man Richard Dunn ahead of them on a magical 10. I don't think Dunk's going to play much longer in the Premier League level to get to 10, I imagine. So sad times, but it's funny he's up there at 2. Right, before we jump into transfers, I've got 2 break the ices, Carl. Ben wants to know who's going to win out of Roma and Napoli tomorrow.
They play once a week. Conte once a week, unfortunately. And Ben knows this is going to happen because he knows his calcio. Unfortunately, Napoli will win. But I'll take great joy if it's a draw. I can't even
fair.
watch it. I'm coming back from Manchester.
Yeah, it looked for a period like Napoli were gonna cock it up, not having European football, but I think they're getting there, aren't they?
Yeah. Hey, my prediction last season, and Ben knows this because he went, really? I think you're undercooling it. I said to him, I don't think Napoli will get any European football. I said they'd finish outside the top 8. I think it went down to 10th in the end. They finished, and this year they were my prediction to win it. And this is Conte ball, absolutely to perfection.
Yes, indeed. Couldn't do it at Spurs, though. No one can seem to do it. Spurs. Right. So we've had another question, which is from Matt, which is saying, after seeing the CP company collabs with City and Bologna, if you could pick one fashion label to collaborate with Palace, who would it be?
Oh, I wish I'd thought about that one beforehand. I'm trying to think one relevant to our transfer window. Dolce & Gabbana? I don't know. All over the place. Great question.
You can think about it and come back to it at the end of the show.
Come back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious answer, I think, for me it's the easy one is Palace, naturally. But there's got to be a more unique one out there.
Yeah, I know those guys. Really, well, not really well. I know that I've collabed with them in a past life when I had Kickers as one of my brands. And I might have a brand at the moment that might be talking to them. But yeah, because they've done this stuff with Juve, I wouldn't want it to do with Palace.
Yeah, know what you mean.
I'll have a think.
Right. Okay then, Hesketh, should we do it? Should we talk transfers?
Yeah, go on then.
Right, we're going to start. I'm going to sort of base this all around questions from listeners and sort of feed them into general themes about what was coming through. Quite feels like a work meeting. Except from I'd get co-pilot to do for this for me these days, but other than that. Right, so what we got here. So we're going to start with sort of like the money situation, where we are, can we actually buy players, what's going on with the takeover and stuff like that. So Tommy's asked, what's stopping us spending money? Is it the board, parish, PSR, the takeover? We tend to be the lowest spenders every window by some distance other than last January. It's so frustrating. John W. has said, is the drawn out process of changing ownership affecting our willingness to invest in transfers or free up the necessary funds to bid more competitively? What are your thoughts on those, Carl?
I think it's important to deal in fact. Come back and answer at sort of a decent level. It's important to deal in some facts, because when you look at it over any 5-year rolling period, we're nowhere near the bottom of the lowest spenders. We're just not. We don't include our 10 and 15 million pound players in it, and the fact we sell very, very little. So our net spend is 12th, 13th, 14th in the league. That's sort of the facts of it, and that's broadly where we finish, which is what Harvard Business School study says. You broadly finish where you spend over a sustained period. Hey, look, answer to the question. The club doesn't have a massive PSR issue. Clearly, it can go and spend 150, 200 million without running into a problem, but we're never going to go do that, are we? Not without raising that type of money. We've had a cash injection in. I think a lot of people misunderstood that money. They thought that was new money coming in to spend on transfers. It isn't. It's cash flow. The club's got a lot of outgoings this month. Well, January, at the end of January, because last January it bought Adam Walton and Danny Munoz, and those payments were structured that a decent chunk went up front. The second big of those payments was after 1 year. So they had a lot of outgoings, plus that general cash flow you have of expenditure. So money was there, but also that money was to allow them to go spend in the window. We saw them do SA. They would have done Ben Doak if they thought that was a deal they could have got away. And quite clearly, they are very happy to go spend if they could get it to anything what they think is the right value on Diouf. And again, that sort of it. They, in their mind all along, they were going to spend somewhere between sort of 20 and 35 million. depending on if could they get the right players at the right value. It was there's never a real limit to it. If they think they can get a 30 million player for 20, they bite hand off and they go do it. They know Januaries are all really, really difficult. So the thought process was always it'd be 2, probably 3. Then the injuries came along.
Yeah, so we'll obviously get into those later. And that's answered Exile's question about where the 34 million that was put in has gone. John C., I like this question. I feel like this is Hesketh's burner account. Are we expecting a JP Mateta new contract to appease the fans for yet another terrible window?
Yeah, I suppose you split that into 2. We're waiting to find out if it's a terrible window, won't we? There's still 2 days to go. If we go back and we're end up undoubtedly talking about Ollie, and last time I was on the pod was putting a whole load of pressure on because it was just before the window started about early signings. I don't think we were ever going to get really, really early signings on it. So we wait and see what we end up with. He may well end up with exactly what he wanted player-wise in positions in there and some cover where they never even planned to because we picked up an injury. Back to the JP one, I've come not full circle. I didn't think Palace would hurry to do a Mateta deal because they triggered the 1-year extension and you're trying to agree a deal with somebody at their absolute peak value. He's actually performed that well now that he's probably proven he is the main man. He can probably walk around the changing rooms and look at anybody in the eyes and go, I'm the best player here. I deliver the most value here. Give me the most money. And, that puts him, he should be getting something there that is significantly higher than Eze, higher than Kamada. And, that'd be a substantial increase. And, again, it's easy as fans to sort of dismiss that. That's another, that could easily cost us another £3-4 million per season. It'd be a 4-year deal, so there goes another 10-12 million out the account, incremental to what he's currently earning. But I think he's earned it, hasn't he?
Yeah, no doubt about that. You just can't argue. He's scoring goals at a rate that is up there with all the top strikers in the Premier League. So yeah, fair play to him.
Totally. And actually, I've said Eze and Kamada, there's probably a more relevant one for him to compare against, which is Nketiah, isn't it? And, Nketiah would have had a signing on fee circa £2.5 to £3 million straight into the bank account. There'd be some form of loyalty bonus paid out at the end of that contract, but he'd be on a salary that's into 6 figures and JP isn't. So, if nothing else, he'd be looking over going, go on, when am I getting that contract then?
Yeah, we're going to go a podcast without speaking about Nketiah. I think we won't do it. I feel like it would be unfair. So Jack has asked, what's the actual structure of the 2 exclusivity periods RE Textor's takeover? How can both exist at one time? And how does the eventual takeover influence our transfer budget?
Can't really answer the last one because I don't think we need to know what happens, and the transfer budget isn't relevant to this window. That'd be the summer. Look, they're 2 separate deals. They're 2 separate companies. Hence, you've got 2 different exclusivity periods. One's for Eagle Holdings and one's for Textor's shares in Crystal Palace, and you can have both happen. And I guess the one that's most relevant to us is Textor's 40-odd% that's in Crystal Palace, because that's the most relevant one for us, because if somebody invests into Eagle Holdings and then we then get the go ahead of Textor or Eagles Holdings coming out of Crystal Palace, then they're gone from our world. I genuinely no idea what it then means for us for future transfer windows. I suspect we will always look to invest. I don't think you'll find, sorry if you go back, I don't think you've got Blitzer, Harris or Steve unwilling to invest behind the right type of players, which fits our model and doesn't risk our long-term future of the football club. We've got new PSR rules coming into play. Every football club at the present time is modelling what do they think that now looks like going forward. If we've got another 40% ownership or 40-something% owner coming into it all, one assumes they're only going to be going ahead and the others sanction them coming in if they're willing to invest into the same way as the others are. So, I'd only see it as an absolute possible. Look, if you've got somebody who doesn't want to invest in because they want out, it's never a good thing. We've got somebody looking to come in and buy those shares out. One absolutely assumes all the due diligence done by Blitzer Harris and Steve is that they're all going to be aligned, at least for the starting period of it all.
Okay, right. Now let's move on to we've had Isaac. Are we making permanent signings or just loans? We've had Will go as far as saying, "Are we signing anyone?" So that's the starting point where we're at.
Yeah, look, I've got to say, and I'm the same. Look, you go. I think when we were again together late December, or was it really early Jan? Said, look, the strategy is really simple. They want a front attacking player, ideally left-footed, and it was we've talked about it. SA and Doak, ideally Doak, and SA brought in, SA back out on loan, and they wanted a left wing back. All three of those would have been signings, or Doak would have been almost certainly would have been a sign. In the moment Chalobah went back, they even considered could they do it on a loan with then the compulsory purchase. So that though nobody wants to do the sticking plaster of a loan, we've got SA, got that done, moved away from Doak because it's not a deal they think they can do in this window, and all of the focus has been on the left back. They had 3 targets. They already knew only one of them would be available this window, which is Diouf, and it's got away from them with, they're further away now in valuation than they were at the start of the window. And there's the nature of what Slavia have done during the window in not needing needing money, and Jude's not kicked off or anything along those lines. They feel contented. They want to keep him. They're happy. They know clubs will still be interested next summer. In fact, more clubs, because more clubs will have money. So, that's where Palace are at the present moment in time going, they would absolutely do a permanent signing if the right player's there. But what they desperately don't want to do is do a permanent signing for the wrong player. So you then go into the loan market. The loan market, international loans are obviously an option. Local loans weren't, Premier League loans weren't, until obviously Chalobah was recalled, which has then given them some other options. And I guess, don't take too long to join the dots up to get to Ben Chilwell.
Yeah, so obviously, Jimmy was asked what happened with the Diouf negotiations. Daniel has said the whole Diouf situation is so strange. We spend the whole window after him, only bid twice, and then ditch our prime target over a few million for what looks like to be Chilwell. Waste money to Chelsea and on Chilwell's higher wages rather than spending similar on Diouf like we did on SA. We are then in the same position again in the summer. Our whole way of running the club to sign good young players who have potential to be sold for money, and Diouf seems to be exactly that. Does Carl have any insight in this situation? I'd be very interested to hear. And then Mike was asked, is the reason we're not pursuing Diouf due to a standoff with Slavia Prague on the price? And if so, will we pursue him in the summer? So there's obviously quite a bit of frustration. So around not signing Diouf, I do wonder if anyone's like me. And it's like, I want a player desperately that I've never seen kick a football.
Yeah, I've got to say, and that is the funny bit. Is I'm sold on he's the absolute right person. I've never seen him. Look, I think again you've got to deal in facts. We haven't bid twice. We haven't bid twice. We'd bid twice. We'd bid twice before the window had opened. We're long beyond bidding twice, and it's not a few million the difference. Our valuation of him is literally under 50% of what they're asking for. We're now into a position whereby it would make him one of our most expensive signings of all time, and double the highest fee ever received for a player out of the Czech league. So it's substantially more, to the extent that I think as a starting point, this isn't necessarily Palace even being inverted commas, tight over 1 or 2 million, because it's over 10 million, the gap, number one. But number two, you just don't want to be seen by other football clubs as being the club you can take for a ride on a big expensive transfer. Go and ask Man United about that. We when we negotiated the Aaron Wan-Bissaka one, we just kept going, no, and more. They weren't even up against him. No, more. No, give us more. No, we'll have a bit more. And every other club's taken him for a ride ever since. So Palace refused to be into that. But by the same token, he's a 19-year-old who they believe massively in. Dougie absolutely believes he's the right person, but don't get this wrong. This isn't the owners holding back. I don't think Dougie believes for one moment he's worth in excess of £20 million as a starting point. So, but I mean, their hope is absolutely that him or a player very similar to him will be where they go in a permanent come the summer, when the market has changed a little. I think probably Diouf has gone now. Diouf has gone. I think, come the summer, it'll probably still be too big a price, and there'd be other clubs, loads of clubs that would look at it. It's not like we were the only ones who'd seen him. We were the only ones who'd done all of the groundwork on him, hence, we had the first run at it. But yeah, that Tottenham keeper one was absolutely scuppered us, where we thought we were going to be, if we're lucky, under 10, maybe 10, 12, 14. Suddenly, you're getting up to 24, 25, and that's big money.
Yeah, especially for a 19-year-old who plays in the Czech league. It is a big leap of faith. And I guess I joke about none of us seen him kick to football, but I guess that's where we've got to in the standpoint of trusting our scouting network and what we've been doing with players and those we've been bringing in, right? So most of us have faith that if Dougie thinks he's the right one, then he's probably the right one, because most of the time he is. So yeah, shame if he gets away, but as I've seen Dougie talk at things before, and he says, it's not just, we've got a whole long list in every position of players who meet a criteria and who we'd like to go after. So I'm sure there's other ones on there. So yeah, so you said earlier, Jordan, join the dots, and we end up at Chilwell, which has been obviously all over the press today. Now, here's a flavour of how people tend to feel about this. Will has said, please tell us Chilwell is a ploy to get someone else in. CPFC 1990 said, why the hell are we dealing with Chelsea? Tommy has said, stop taking Chelsea's leftovers on loan without an option. Reese has said, Chilwell screams panic. Awful option. Played 14 games in 2 seasons. Injury-prone player added to an already injury-prone squad. Needed a player to challenge TM for the future first-team spot, not piss off at the end of the season. Morty said, what is the point of a crap short-term fix, injury-prone player who won't even improve the threat down the left? I think that's a bit harsh if he's fit. Instead of getting Diouf, who would be a threat. We've already touched on that. So obviously I think there's a lot of anger that it's Chelsea again, given that they've recalled Chalobah in the fashion that they did. And, not just for us as a football club, but for Chalobah personally, and the way they treated him earlier in the season and so on, is a bit shitty. So yeah, Palace fans obviously a bit angry that we're dealing with Chelsea. But is there an element of this Chelsea going, here's a bit of a sorry for recalling Chalobah, or is it just completely outside of that?
No, it's completely. This is business. They trust me. This deal's not done. And if tomorrow, I'll make it up, Everton pick up the phone and they put more money on the table, and Chilwell, as his arm twisted, that it moved to Liverpool, it goes Liverpool. It's Chelsea are ruthless as a machine. They are trying to get players out of their club. Would they want us to sign him permanently? They've held on to him to the end of the window, not letting him go out loan to anybody, because they want to sell him. They don't want to loan him. That's their last resort. For us, there's no way we would want to go into buying him without, trying before you buy. And I guess probably more importantly than all of that, there's the injury record, etc. And you'd probably want to see his appetite for, does he really want to play at Crystal Palace having spent a few years at Chelsea? There's the other part of it. Any deal that needs to be done going forward beyond anything like a short-term loan is going to have to probably cutting his salary in half, and still a compromise from Chelsea on paying him off a bit, because he breaks our wage structure several times over. So yeah, look, I think you put it in the question there. Are we, Chilwell screams at desperate? Yeah, that's it. The manager says he wants a left wing back. There's not another one that we think we could get in permanently, so it's a loan. How many other options are there? It's we are the most competitive number one ranked league in the world, and the manager wants a player fit for purpose to be able to contribute from literally the moment he gets his fitness in the first few weeks. So by definition, we're the top league in the world. You ain't got that many choices. So yeah, I mean, it screams of desperate. Yeah, it's desperate. That's what it is. It's desperate. And the upside of Chelsea being the club that they are, and it's all about the transaction, there's no emotion there or anything along those lines. At least you can then deal with them. You know what you're dealing with. So it's look, that's it. I don't think there's anything smart or clever about this. This wouldn't be happening if Chalobah hadn't been recalled, because we wouldn't have had a loan slot. We would never have bought him. We would definitely be scratching around somewhere else looking for a loan, almost certainly an international player coming in, because you can do international loans at left back or left wing back, or they would have been absolutely forced to, up and up and up the figure with Diouf at Slavia, which, hey, some fans might want. I might want. I don't know how good he is, but at the present moment in time, they desperately didn't want to compromise themselves on how they're treated with other clubs in negotiation. So yeah, I've gone with Chilwell on loan.
Okay, and I mean, the positives are of Chilwell, if he can get fit, is Chilwell is a great left wing back. Like I'm no doubt that's why in one of the questions I said it feels harsh to say that he wouldn't improve the threat down the left. If we can get 10 games out of him this season, I think he would improve the threat down the left quite considerably. Good at set pieces as well, and we've proved to be more of a threat from them this season. So I think he would. But obviously there's big questions. He's been injured so much that I don't know what they're doing to their fullbacks down there with him and Reece James between them. They can't seem to touch a blade of grass without breaking down. So, yeah. And in terms of, you talk about his wage would break our wage structure several times over. I assume we won't be paying much of it then.
Yeah, look, I think there's the upside of it all. I don't think there's a whole host of clubs knocking down the door for Chilwell, because most of the type of clubs, well, who wants a left wing back? There's not that many. So he's not a top draw out and out left back, and Albany's got loan slots available. By the same token, he's also been, I think, if the rumours are right, I only go this with the rumours, he's been relatively stubborn in not wanting to move geography. So he's down to a handful of clubs. So we're fortunate to that bit. But yeah, look, this would be us coming in with something whereby I would imagine the bulk still of the salary is funded by Chelsea. But it'll still be a sizable part from us, because I mean he's ultimately, Chelsea aren't stupid either. It's got to be worth their while doing it.
Yeah. Hesketh, how are you feeling about Chilwell?
Yeah, I mean, lots of ifs. If he comes in, if he stays fit, that sort of thing. I think if all of those things are positive, so he does stay fit, he doesn't get crocked the day after the window closes or whatever, then he's for sure a good option to have. I'm in the I've not really seen him, but I really want Diouf camp. So it's tough at that stage to now not get Diouf. But everything that Carl said there is obviously resonates, and you don't want to get to the point, I guess, where Glasner has outwardly said he wants this position, and we all know we need cover or competition in that position, and then we don't get anyone at all in that position. And you know what I'm like. My expectation, if we don't get anyone in, would be that Ty will sit down on the grass 15 minutes into the Doncaster game. and be crocked for the rest of the season.
Sam, couple of bits on that. I mean, let's be really, really grateful as fans we got Glasner, because I'm not sure under any other Palace manager, maybe Allardyce, he would have put the pressure on to get the player, and we would have walked away from this now, and we wouldn't have a left wing back coming in, and until we got Chilwell, I suppose that might still be the case. But look, there's the bit. They are massively working hard to appease him. What I would say on Chilwell, again, all of that, the ifs if he can stay fit and will he improve us, etc. I'm rather hoping he has the same impact as Hennessy had on Julian Speroni. The moment Hennessy came through the door, Jules went up a level. And he had an exceptional period in the Palace goal, knowing that he had a bit of proper competition come in. And that's my hope that we see on Chilwell. He comes through the door, T sparks up a bit. T isn't doing 90 minutes. He might be doing the first 60 and Chilwell's coming on and doing 30. And you're seeing far more fitness coming out of it. And yeah, it might, this might be, and I think that would have been the same as if Diouf had come in. I don't think, anybody would be expecting, I can't remember who our next league game is coming up, Everton or whatever it may well be, in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, suddenly it's Diouf going to be starting for us. Don't think it would be in the same way. I don't think it's Chilwell. It's a backup, ideally for long-term progression, who can add something down the left-hand side. This one, if it's Chilwell, it just won't be the long-term progression, but it will add something. He is going to be better than our current left-wing back cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I don't even know who that is anymore.
Yeah. Well, you've got, with Ty as well, I don't think Ty's been bad at all this season. I think actually it's arguably been his best season. And we've probably shortchanged Ty quite a lot for the early part of his career in not giving him that competition to drive him on, because he probably could have gone up some more levels if he had someone pushing behind him. Or maybe not. That's obviously speculation. It might make zero difference to him. It might just be at the level he's at and that's it. And he's just going to slowly improve as every player does with experience. But, he's already got 3 assists this season, which is his best season. He had 3 last season as well, but we're obviously got quite a way to go this season. So, he's starting to deliver more at that end of the pitch in the sense that goals are coming from his crosses. Fucking peach of a cross at Brighton away, for example, to have Sarr heading at the back post. So, the elements being added to his game there. And yeah, exactly as you say, Carl, if then, we bring in Chilwell and hopefully it does kick him on, then works out well in that sense, which is another pro of that move. But it's just like more what Hesketh says, if he sits down against Doncaster and doesn't get up, and that's more of the worry, because then I don't know, do you severely weaken the side? We've been in this position before, and a certain Aaron Wan-Bissaka got some playing time, and we ended up selling him 18 months later for 55 million quid or whatever it was. So who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. But if it's Chilwell, it's Chilwell. And, like I say, if he's fit, I don't think he's bad at all if we can get him fit and firing, but we shall see. Okay, so then we've also injuries have plagued us. We've lost Chalobah and we've lost Charlie Riyad to injury. Poor kid. Must have been buzzing to come to the Premier League, and his first start, he's out for 4 months, and then he's back, plays 1 game, and then training, he's done his ACL, and he's out for what's going to be the best part of the year, isn't it? So,
Gutted.
Really gutted for him. Yeah. Especially considering, as I said last week, I think my fantasy team's called Rad Chad. It just makes zero sense to anyone. So Jack's asked, are we going to sign a centre-back? And are there any names being mentioned? Or Exile said, given that players like Lerma and Klein can play centre-back, do we need another centre-back, or are we better off getting a centre midfielder this window? And I know that's singing to your hymn sheet, Carl.
Are we going to support Carl's wish for a central midfielder this window? That's what.
I've seen Kamada now. No, look. The answer is they definitely want to bring in a centre back. I'm not the sporting director or the manager, but even I would bring in a centre back ahead of a central midfielder at the present moment in time. You know, you're going to weaken the midfield severely if you're going to ask Lerma to play back there. And yeah, I mean, Klein did a sort of great job, but that was 12 months or so ago. So he can do for absolute certain. So yeah, look, they definitely want to do a centre back. The story was out in the press, I think about a week or so ago, was right in Thiago Jallo. That's a player that we'd looked at when he was in France. He then did his ACL, went off to Juve, so we didn't pursue it. I think he was about 21, 22 when we were looking at him. God, I'm terrible on my French football. I think he was at somewhere like Lille. We watched him lots and lots. Thought we were going to go in for him. We didn't go in for him. Start the following season, he did his ACL. He then ended up going to Juve. He's now over at Porto on loan. Obviously, several complications involved in it and not a lot of time left. But yeah, Palace are trying to do a deal with Juve. Juve desperately want cash. They would like to sell. Chadi Riyad's going to be out for some time. I don't think we're opposed to purchase him, but I think it's more likely it'd be a loan with a compulsory purchase type piece. But yeah, the only bit you would say is, you know, it's Sunday tomorrow and the window closes at 11 o'clock on Monday, and they've got to do the deal with Juve, who have then got to do the recall with Porto, and get him and get all the paperwork done. But that'd be one they'd like to do if they can. But yeah, it was quite clearly a reactive one. It's a player they knew, hence that's one they're going after, but they'd like to bring a centre back in to give themselves a bit of cover.
Now, I think we touched on this on the pod on Wednesday, or it's been flying around in my head. Usually what's rattling around in my head is what ends up on the pod, so it probably did come out. If we don't sign a centre back, and all of a sudden there's not as much cover, you know, playing 3 centre backs, you probably need 5 first choice ones knocking around. Is there a situation where the formation changes because you've not got the depth of cover there, especially if we pick up another injury? Or is Rob Holding pulled out of the weeds out the back and allowed back into first team action?
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, I somebody said to me or put it into a WhatsApp group that I'm in, that surely the cheapest solution here is you just get Rob Holding up, and you might have the owners or even Dougie going, that's the solution. But if that's what undermines the manager in front of every one of the other players, then that's a hell of a price to pay. So, yeah, I suspect Rob Holding is the last of all of the solutions. But, yeah, I would imagine they will work through Klein going in, Lerma then going in there, and Graham coming up, or whoever it may well be, before they have to resort to changing shape. And then the final solution, I imagine, be Rob Holding getting the call. I've always wanted to see JP as a centre-back.
Could he become more Barclaysman by adding centre-back, becoming sort of like a modern-day Paul Warhurst, centre-forward, centre-back when needed? I mean, I'll say I heard it from the milkman to cover up my sources, but you know, for the argument that took place, so I've heard, between Holding and Glasner was a full-on screaming each other's faces match in the training ground in front of everyone, with it closing with Glasner saying, "You'll never play for Palace as long as I'm here." So he said here as well. He's really picked up South London accent.
You can't.
So yeah, we're going to get into Glasner shortly. and whether people worried, a lot of people worried about him potentially walking, which we'll get into. But I think undermining him on that level of things by holding back might be the thing that would actually kick him out. Right, other rumours. Adam has asked, why have we been so heavily linked with Gabriel Aguayo, is it, in Paraguay? Bit of a random one.
I don't know. No idea. Not named that I've heard.
The only time I saw that was some Paraguayan journalist,
journalist
radio
with like
guy,
hundreds
whatever.
of thousands of followers. Yeah.
And he has 700,000 Twitter followers or something ridiculous. And he was like, yeah, definitely happening, blah, blah, blah. So I just Googled the guy's name, and he'd been linked with Wolves the previous summer, and he'd been linked with someone else earlier than that. So I was like, are they just picking teams that are sort of like lower mid-table Premier League just to drum up a bit of action on their socials or something? But yeah, I mean, that rumour went as quickly as it turned up.
Okay. Right. John has asked, who do we have to kill to sign Ryan Shirky? He'd be unstoppable for us. Such a talent at 20 million euros. I mean, we'd probably have to knock him over the head and hope he forgets that he doesn't want to sign for us.
You've nailed it. You've absolutely nailed it. Again, we just talked about French football, and I mean, not watching a lot of it. That said, I've got a lad who does, and I get the clips sent through to me. He's a stunning player, and so obviously, I've got to ask the question, and the answers come back. He has no intention of playing for Crystal Palace. I think we talked about it, not on the pod, but in a WhatsApp group. I mean, the rumor is from last summer that he was going to Juve, but they just couldn't get their cash in order to do it, and said, "Sit tight, we'll come and get you next summer." And he's playing European football. I suspect he'll be playing Champions League football next season, one way or another. And the fee is that fee because desperately Lyon want to make sure they end up getting some money and trying to clear the wage bill off, because he's more than a 20 million euro player, that's for certain.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I saw him in the Olympics because watching Mateta play, obviously, and then when Wilf was at Lyon, I watched a few of their games, trying to watch Wilf's minutes when he didn't get that many. But he's quality, really is. Just glides with the ball, man. He's a beautiful player, and he's still a kid as well. He's so young. Like he's going to be playing higher than our level. Sadly. Lacosta, I think that's right, has said, is Mitchell leaving? Now, obviously, he's been linked to a couple of clubs. I don't know whether it's just paper talk. I can't imagine we have any desire to let him go.
Do you know what? I've got a general rule, and this one follows it, for sniffing out the shite journalists who just make stuff up. There is not a chance any club coming in for him, and there's not a chance us looking to sell him. But the rumours circulate because Transfermarkt, ironically, a company that Unique have got a chunk of investment into, have got his contract down wrong because we never announced that he renewed. And so this is journalists putting look, he's nearly got Palace to take any fee. They'll let him go now because they won't want him to go free in the summer. But he's not. He's under contract to 2027. So, he's going nowhere. And all the clubs know he's under contract.
Yeah. Okay, and then lastly, on anyone else, transfer out, Edouard has obviously, reportedly turned down the chance to go to the MLS in a £15 million transfer fee.
Yeah, I think that's true. Well, I think it's 15. I thought it's $15 million, but either way, should hand bitten off. But yes, he didn't go.
Yeah. And then he's just happy to sit it out on the bench in Leicester, is what I've heard, or even not on the bench because he hasn't even been making that. Yeah,
it's not on the bench. I mean, this is evidently a problem that we've got coming back in our direction. Would it have changed our transfer window this January if we'd sold him? Probably not, but they would have happily have unloaded him, and it would have allowed them far bigger ways to play come the summer. But yeah, I mean, look, he's evidently a problem because of problem with the club. We've got 2 centre forwards. They're pretty darn convinced he isn't good enough. He's had a dreadful loan for a year. He didn't want to move to Ipswich because he didn't want to go risk of getting relegated. So there's not too many clubs that can afford his wages. You're generally into, therefore, Premier League clubs. He's on Premier League wages. So he only wants to move to a Premier League club that's guaranteed staying up. Bloody hell, don't give you many, does it? So it's, I mean, I would imagine we are going to have, that will be, they say good sporting directors are just as good at getting players out of clubs as they are bringing players in. That's one that they're going to have to work really hard on in the summer.
And I mean, West Ham need a striker. Can't we be tapping on their door? maybe we should send our scouts to Leicester to watch Edouard, and then West Ham would just want to buy him.
I know. In all fairness, under Potter, they don't shoot anyway. He'd be perfect.
It's happened again. Right. Okay. Now let's get into the more serious talk of Glasner. So obviously, given this perception of Palace fans that we've had a terrible window and that we had a terrible window in the summer as well, there's a lot of nervousness around Glasner. Roberts asked, are we trying to piss the manager off? Henry said, I know that we'll get into Henry later. Tomo, what's your sense of Glasner's mood? Is he starting to get frustrated with our structure? Any chance he walks in the summer? Sam has said, not Hesketh, have the past 2 windows damaged the club's relationship with Glasner? Daniel, do you feel the club have fouled Glasner across both the windows this season? So there's obviously a big sense from Palace fans that we've had a shit window, we're about to have another shit window, and Glasner's not going to be happy with it. I mean, a bit fact-checking on the side, Glasner doesn't seem too pissed off at this window in the sense that he's got his 1 and he's likely to get his 2nd. And I think he was not unhappy with the personnel in the first window, it's just more the timing of it. So probably not the disaster in Glasner's mind that it seems to be in the fans' mind, is my thinking.
Yeah, can I have 2 goes at this? First go, just to build on actually what you just said there. If they could all have their time again, the manager, the sporting director, the owners, they would have brought some players in earlier. Hindsight's blimmin' easy. They just didn't realise the impact of having Lerma away, coming back late injured, Munoz away, coming back late, and the 4 England players, and then JP at the Olympics. How much of an impact? Everybody celebrated them all going off. Nobody had really gone, which means they're all going to come back mentally drained, injured, knackered, tired. Then when you put into it 2 or 3 of the signings coming in late in the window, obviously Kamada was early. I forget who came in late, Chalabar, somebody, Nketiah. That he, to your point, he was definitely not unhappy with the personnel. Hindsight, really easy. He wished he'd had them earlier. But, cut to the chase of our starting team now, what you're looking at, we still would have had, or over the coming weeks, we still would have had 7 or 8 of them not at training come the penultimate week of July because they were all still coming away, So that's a part of it. That's my sort of part 1, but doesn't answer the question. I said this on a previous pod, probably about a year ago. Describe Glasner: rational, thoughtful, reflective, intelligent, composed. What did he think? He'd done all of that analysis on Crystal Palace. We'd been in talks with him a good 7 months before he took the job. He knew who the club was, how we deal, how we're structured, who Dougie Freeman is, how they operate with Steve. I don't think he's getting too many surprises. He knows they're trying hard. He believes, we let him down on a left back in the summer. That's the one they missed out on, the left wing back in the summer. He wanted 2. Hopefully he's going to get 2. I think he'd be happier in the short term with Chilwell than he would be versus Diouf. He's more proven. He may even end up with some cover for the unfortunate injuries. So, I don't think he is pissed off in any which way. He's demanding, he's a perfectionist, but I think, they talk to him, the dialogue's there. We're not operating massively different to any other time previously. So I don't think he's pissed off. That said, though, could he leave in the summer? Yeah, he could, because he's very, very, very ambitious, and he's probably still starting to see what our ceiling is, built around the size of club we are. And, if you do end up with a Bayern Munich knocking on the door, not after 2 weeks, but after 2 years, you're probably under, a bigger threat of losing him. I pray we don't, because we're going to win something under him. I can feel it, We can keep him for, if somehow this end of this season we can find a way of spinning him onto another contract for another 2-3 years, then absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I mean, I don't think, but those two things aren't overly connected. Those two things genuinely aren't overly connected. He isn't, I think, massively pissed off at the present moment in time. He fully understands it all. He's, as I say, this isn't a club this isn't Wolves, who went under Nuno, went and spent money, 100 million, another 100 million, another 100 million, and did 350 million in 3 windows. And then the next manager comes in, has got £2.70 to play with. This isn't us. He's been getting all of those promises in the way that we typically go bring them in. So I think he knew what he was getting into.
Okay, so we've had a question from Pete that says, does Carl think we can break through our current ceiling, which seems a permanent consequence of the ownership model, to be able to compete in squad investment versus other Premier League clubs and actually push on?
No, if it is our ownership. I think we wait and see what new PSR brings us. I know you can read the rules of what it is, but truly how it gets implemented is a different matter altogether. We broadly spend right up to not far short of our limits. Go and have a look at the books. The losses are there, clear to see. Generally, we're in a batch of clubs that every now and then one of them breaks out and has 1 year of glory. I mean, obviously this year Fulham's having an incredible one, Bournemouth are having an incredible one. Wasn't that long ago it was that lot from down the road. But it's generally we're pretty darn stable out of it all. Can we break out of it? Yeah, but these things take ages of time. It takes the main stand. It takes 2 players coming through your academy. It takes a team called Chelsea turning up and buying a bang average player for 100 million, and then buying your goalkeeper who's a bit average, your reserve goalkeeper who's a bit average for another 50 million, and then buying another one of your players for 50 million. And you suddenly having a massive amount of cash that you've got the best scouting network in the world. Now you can buy them because you've got the PSR headroom. Some of the time it just needs that type of stuff, some of it. But, if we had a different ownership, it doesn't suddenly mean you're going to get 150 million spent in a transfer window. It just doesn't, Have a look what Forest have spent after the first season. You get the headroom win coming up to be able to spend. It's building on stuff, and it's building on.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree in that sense of the main stand is obviously integral, and we've always talked about the difference it's going to make in terms of revenue, not just match day, non-match day, all that kind of things there, and what else it could bring for Sellers Park in terms of we've had the boxing. When does that become gigs and things like that? I don't know if you can in a residential area these days.
But I've heard the neighbours up the hill are slightly always moaning.
I mean, I was at the boxing, but when I got home from the boxing, my wife did say that was like stupidly loud. She was like, I just can't see how people aren't going to be complaining left, right and centre. So yeah, that
academy though, the academy, that's so much investment's gone into the academy. If we can get a player or two coming through there, be it an Agbenoni or it's Akora or whatever it may well be, whoever it may well be, even I know he's not come through the academy, but even Devaney has taken a place in the 25 that stopped us going out and needing to do a Jeffrey Schlupp on, a 10 million fee or a 15 million fee type player I'm talking about, and 70 grand a week, If you get 2 or 3 through, they make such a massive difference.
Yeah, and we talked on the last pod about Rob Quinn going and whether there's any, that is Steve getting a bit itchy in terms of we've put all this money in the academy. I need players coming through now to save some of the money in this sense and become pure profit when we sell them and so on. You'll listen on your way to Old Trafford tomorrow, Carl. Love Rob Quinn. Anyone who's ever played in Renf games just know what a top bloke Rob Quinn is, and it's so sad to see him go really in it. But we've
Palace through and through. Palace through exactly. And through. Yeah, and I mean, look, a part of all of this, to your point, is maybe, I don't know, it's because of, we want better coaches in at that level, whatever it may. What I know is he brings the values of Crystal Palace Football Club probably better than anybody else I can think of. Go and have a look at his, you listen to him speak and, how when we have the derby games against Brighton and stuff like that, it's not his team's getting dicked. He's in my mind, he's a loss, but I don't know all the reasons behind it. I don't think I want to. I might get angry.
But some players through the academy would be absolutely nice, and like you say, just taking up the place in the squad and not having to go and do someone as a squad player, just a huge swing in money, right? Because the salary's less, the fee's not there. It makes a huge difference.
Mentioned him earlier, Rob Holding. There you go. If we'd had enough centre back hopefully in 2 years' time, 1 year's time, there's a centre back coming through, and you're not needing to do a Rob Holding.
Indeed. So, right, 2 questions, sort of along the same theme, really. Henry said, "Which one player could Palace reasonably sign that would finally stop Palace fans on Twitter constantly whinging?"
Probably Wilfred Zaha. No, Cherky. I think you mentioned it, Cherky. I mean, we love to be entertained, don't we? So I think we've loved, and not always doesn't all have to be always out of South London. I think every Palace fans loved Danny Munoz. So again, any player coming in, I still think we could do. I walk away from my midfielder piece, but you see what Anderson's doing at Nottingham Forest, or you're watching a Morgan Gibbs-White or something along those. That type of player for us, please. That I think, we all want to see Michael Elise, don't we, again?
We do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I desperately want to see him on Friday when I go to Munich, but he came off at half-time today with a precautionary injury, so... I might not get to see him as soon as I wanted to. But, Anderson is... Maybe I should have spoke up at the club, because I watched him a few times at Bristol Rovers and it was clear that he was going to be a Premier League footballer. Very, very good player. And then, lastly, Tony's asked, how do you put up with all the ludicrous questions and in hundreds of DMs you get, Carl?
The last few weeks I have been so manic with work, so I haven't even replied. I had one day I went and looked at it, and there was I counted to 160 and I gave up. So no, genuinely, I wouldn't reply. Well, I haven't replied because I was just so busy with work. But genuinely, I like to contact with people, and you get the odd person, don't you? Who did call me? What did I get? Some prick. Vile prick I got the other week because I gave somebody else I didn't like. Wow. Vile.
Jeez.
But 99.9% of people are absolutely brilliant. And I love it when you're chatting on a train or in a pub about it. So, yeah, look, bring it on.
Yeah, and it's so funny whenever you do anything that puts yourself out there a little bit, you got to let the abuse just go off your back like water off a duck's back and all of that. Because God, years ago when I first started blogging, I was just like, you could get 1,000 people tell you, "Oh, we love what you're doing, really enjoy it, mate," and it's 2 people who are calling you a dickhead are the ones you think about, and it's just you got to let that stuff go. And it's just not worth thinking about. But if the person who's called Carl Vile is listening, you are so far from the mark, because he is a top bloke. And I'm not just saying that because he's on that. He's a top bloke, and I've never seen someone who goes out of his way more to help Palace fans, no matter who they are. So, you're talking nonsense. Right. I think that's it. I think we've covered everything. Go on.
I was going to say I was going to build on your Michael Elise. You've just given me the big nerves. Obviously, you've got Michael next weekend. It's next weekend, isn't it?
Friday night. Friday night against Werder Bremen.
When do you book? Because I'm thinking of doing it. When do you book the trip to the US to go and see Wilf? And how painful is that going to be if he isn't playing? This is. I need your guidance, boys. I need your guidance.
You know what? I was, and we'll say it was jokingly, moaning about a wedding that Vanessa and I are going to in the States next year, which I implored the person getting married to get married in the summer, so I wouldn't have to miss Palace. That's not happened. So maybe Texas to Charlotte is not that bad. So maybe I'll do that. Yeah. Vanessa's going to be listening to this tomorrow, and she's going to be livid, and I'm going to blame Carl.
Well,
it wasn't her that called you vile, was it? Because she will be.
Mrs D's away, so she doesn't know I'm podding, so she won't listen to the pod. But I've got a rewards flight voucher, BA, where you get one flight, get one free. I was thinking, and the lad won't listen. I'm thinking he's got his 21st. I'm thinking a little trip over there, long weekend, whatever it may well be. Go that way, and he don't play though. Devastating.
Yeah, I've my BA voucher just came through as well. Yeah. So might be one. See if I can talk the missus into it. Who doesn't want to go to North Carolina?
Oh no, I'm sending them away.
I'm sending them away. Yeah, when do they play LA Galaxy? Yeah.
Well, I will tell you. Late June they play into Miami.
Ooh.
In Miami.
Yeah. That's.
I mean, if I can get them away at Austin FC, then that ticks every box, because that's where I'll be anyway. So let's get in touch with the MLS scheduling gods and see what happens.
Right. Great. Lovely. Well, thanks, Carl, for joining. Really appreciate it, mate. Hesketh, go and rest your feet after your long walk today.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks to everyone for listening to this transfer special. I think we plan on being back normal this week. Who's our game next weekend? Is it Everton?
Donny, mate.
Donny? FA Cup. I should remember that. I'm going.
I know you're going. You've got my ticket. You better be going.
That was a great scheduling move there, because it meant that I could go to Munich and then still get Palace in as well. So, Carl, I think we're on the same train up to Donny, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we're on the same train. Well, I was going to say, if we're all staying in the same hotel, we'd do the pod from the bar afterwards.
Yes.
No, I'm coming back on the last train out. So
you won't after we've had penalties, mate.
It can't go to penalties. I'll be squibbling my way back onto like one of the club coaches or something. Just be like, let me on. It was free anyway. But no, brilliant. Thanks everyone for listening. So until next time, up to Palace.